You kind of you can let the people. Oh, yeah, thank you. Oh, oh, yeah. No, hello. If you can chat, show chat, and then to write something in the chat, the testing purposes. Hey, hey, Sam. Okay, um, let's see myself. Is it that dark? I don't know. Let's go over to them. Here. See myself here. Okay, I'm going to share. Going to go to how maybe I'm going to enter here variety religious varieties of religious experience. So, the variety of religious experience. William James, Lecture 1, Religion and Neurology. The reality of the unseen. That's lecture 2. The divided self. Saintliness. That's the first one. No, that's the thin, thin, and poof. Stop somewhere and read. Let's see. The beginning of this section. And the beginning of this section. Yes, footnote. It's the beginning of this section, man. It's from the beginning. Keep going down. Like I want to see what lecture I'm in. Lecture two. Okay. Circumscription of the topic. So most books on the philosophy of religion. uh, had my microphone kind of far away. Most books on the philosophy of religion try to begin with a precise definition of what its essence consists of. Some of these would-be definitions may possibly come before us in later portions of this course. And I shall not be pedantic enough to enumerate any of them to you now. Meanwhile, the very fact that they are so many and so different from one another is enough to prove that the word cannot religion cannot. Ah, there we go. Oh, sorry for the noise. Yeah, what is wrong with this headset? Oh boy. Okay. Let me do some testing first. Go over here. I can't even see myself. Oh, there. Okay, there. Okay, it's working. I was just checking. The audio might not be very good. So, most books on philosophy or religion try to begin with a precise definition of what its essence consists of. Some of these would be definitions. Some of these would be definitions may possibly come before us in later portions of this course, and I shall not be pedantic enough to enumerate any of them to you now. Meanwhile, the very fact that they are so many and so different from one another is enough to prove that the word religion cannot stand for any single principle or essence, but is rather a collective name. The theorizing mind tends always to the oversimplification of its material. This is the root of all that absolutism and one sided dogmatism by which both philosophy and religion have been infested. Let us not fall immediately into a one sided view of our subject, but let us rather admit freely at the outset that we may very likely find no one essence, but many characters which may alternately be equally important in religion. If we should inquire for the essence of government, For example, one man might tell us it was authority, another submission, another police, another an army, another an assembly, another a system of laws. Yet all the while it would be true, it would be true, what would be true? That no concrete government can exist without all these things, one of which is more important at one moment and others at another. The man who knows governments most completely is he who troubles himself least about a definition which shall give their essence. Enjoying an intimate acquaintance with all their particularities, in turn, he would naturally regard an abstract conception in which these were unified as a thing more misleading than consider also the religious sentiment. Why may not religion be a conception equally complex? Consider also the religious sentiment which we see entity it is. Uh, oh, what happened? I don't know. I got kicked out and I'm back. So let's see. Wait a second. I'm going to flip over to this page. See what's going on. Let's see. Live YouTube. I'm listening to what got recorded a few minutes ago. There we go. There. Let's see. Yeah, it's still going. I still seem to be on YouTube. Let's see. Let's see. Wait a second. This, this is crazy. Oh boy. Okay. Oh, why is it frozen? Okay, it's working. Okay, so I got. I was trying to use the Wi-Fi. Supposedly, it's pretty good, the Spectrum Wi-Fi, except I'm at a distance from the router, so it's kind of. I have an extender, but it's still, I guess it has its good moments, and so now I switched to hotspot. I mean to the cellular wi internet, and so maybe it's doing better. So I'll leave it at that. I was just thinking because the phone that I'm using is supposedly I reduced its internet, but it's doing okay. So, so let's see if I can get back to sharing what I was sharing. So if I go to, let's see if I can get back to DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo.com. And then we go, oh, wow, I typed it in wrong or something. Oh, doggone. Hmm. And then I type in varieties, it's a varieties of religious experience. Then I go down here to archive.org, and then I go to, oh wow, that lecture two. That's what I was reading. Let's see if I can close this. There we go. Lecture two. Lecture two. That's 335 of 541. That means 30, page 35, you mean? Yeah, I guess so. So I was reading that, and I got a little confused at the bottom of the first page where it says enjoying. Oh, can you hear me? Uh, yeah, sorry for the noise. See the bottom of the page 35. That's lecture two, the first page of lecture two. It's talking about, I guess, basically, it's saying that religion is hard to define, just like government is hard to define because it's like a huge elephant that we're touching. We can only touch one part of the elephant to get to know it. And like say we're a blind man, and well, he doesn't talk about this, but it reminded me of that. Like if you're one of the six or so blind men touching an animal that you don't know what it is. It happens to be an elephant, so you would be touching different parts of the body. Like six or so blind men are given an elephant to touch. Maybe they've never experienced an elephant, so they would be touching it at different parts of the elephant's body. So, maybe a blind man might be touching the leg of the elephant. Another might be touching the tail of an elephant. The other might be touching the trunk, maybe the tusk, the ear, and so forth. So you get a different experience of what an elephant is. So parts of the elephant's body you get. So in the same way, if you're talking about government, you might get different experiences of government, like the police, the laws, the legislation, uh, the authority, the submission, the army, an assembly, uh, yeah, the system of laws. So no one person could give you a concrete definition of the word government. Hmm. Hmm, I don't know. Even a person that's working in government, would they be able to give you a definition of? They would just give you their impressions on what government is, and it would be biased towards what it is from their view. And in the same way, you might be involved in studying religion. Uh, you might be hard pressed to come with a definition of about religion. There's many definitions of religion, I suppose, and and it and your definition might involve what you uh experience in religion every day. If you're like say a professional, maybe a professional student of religion, or a what is it, a practitioner of a particular religion. Whatever, like somebody asks you, what is religion? Hmm, that'd be interesting. So I was reading that beginning of that lecture, and the first page, towards the bottom of it, it says there's a sentence that's uh, hmm, there's a sentence that starts with, and it gets split by the page. It says enjoying the word enjoying, and then there's a number. I guess it's a footnote. Enjoying an intimate acquaintance with all their particularities. In turn, he would naturally regard an abstract conception in which these were unified as a thing more misleading than enlightening. And so before and, I just finished the sentence. So the sentence is split between enjoying and then the rest of the sentence, which goes from intimate to enlightening, period. And then there's another sentence. And, and then for some reason, there's a split. I don't understand it. It says lecture 2, circumscription of the topic, 29. Why may not religion be a conception equally complex? Question mark. So I think these pages are scanned, let's suppose. And so there's some problems in splitting up the pages. I don't know. I'm guessing. I don't know. So when I read this, I may have skipped that phrase, lecture 2, circumscription of the topic. 29. What is that? 29 for? Is that like page 29? Why may not religion be a conception equally complex? Question mark. And then superscript 9. Maybe that's a footnote. And then there's what may be a short paragraph or one page, one sentence paragraph. It says, consider also the, in quotes, religious sentiment, which we see referred to in so many books, as if it were a single sort of mental entity. Uh, it's puzzling how to uh, how to understand it. It's a little confused through here. Anyway, let's go on. In the psychologies and in the philosophies of religion, we find the authors attempting to specify just what entity is. One man allies it to the feeling of dependence. One may, no, one makes it a derivative from fear. Others connect it with the sexual life. Others still identify it with the feeling of the infinite, and so on. Such different ways of conceiving it ought themselves to arouse doubt as to whether it possibly can be one specific thing. And the moment we are willing to treat the term religious sentiment as a collective name for the many sentiments which religious objects may arouse in alternation, we see that it probably contains nothing whatever of a psychologically specific nature. There is religious fear, religious love, religious awe, religious joy, and so forth. But religious love is only man's natural emotion of love directed to a religious object. Religious fear is only the ordinary fear of commerce, so to speak, the common quaking of the human breast. Insofar as the notion of divine retribution may arouse it, religious awe is the same organic thrill which we feel in a forest at twilight. or in a mountain gorge. Only this time it comes over us at the thought of our supernatural relations. And similarly, of all the various sentiments which may be called into play in the lives of religious persons, period. I was expecting this sentence to continue, but I read it wrong. It ended. So let me try to read it again. But it's a long sentence. Where does it begin? Well, we could read it from the semicolon and say, and similarly, of all the various sentiments which may be called into play in the lives of religious persons, period. I guess that's a sub phrase or it's a compound sentence, and that's hmm. This sentence has several components, you could say. A complex sentence. And similarly, of all the various sentiments which may be called into play in the lives of religious persons. So that's the conclusion, maybe. Saying that it's saying that there are religious this and that and other similar thises and that's that may be called into play in the lives of the religious person. Mm. Yeah, so a religious person will go through uh, several religious experiences, and they are listed here as religious fear, religious love, religious awe, religious joy, and so forth. But now he puts a little bit of attention to religious love. Religious love is only man's natural emotion of love directed to a religious object. Also, he's going to go through and try to define these that he just went over. So he just maybe not defined it, but identified what it is. So religious love is only man's natural emotion of love directed to a religious object. Okay. And then religious fear is only the ordinary fear of commerce, so to speak, the common quaking of the human breast, insofar as the notion of divine retribution may arouse it. Then there's religious awe. And what is that? That is the same organic thrill which we feel in a forest at twilight or in a mountain gorge. Only this time it comes over us at the thought of our supernatural relations. And similarly, of all the various sentiments which may be called into play in the lives of religious persons. So, hmm, So I guess, and similarly, is kind of like saying etc., etc. Like there's other sentiments that may come into play in a life of a religious person, of any religious person, of all religious persons. There's all kinds of sentiments. So he's just going over just a few. So he went over the sentiment of religious love, the sentiment of religious fear, the sentiment of religious awe. So love, fear, and awe. What other ones are there? Mm, Religious fear, religious love, religious awe, religious joy, and so forth. And anyway, you can take a screenshot of what I've just read. Let me go back. Let's see, take a screenshot of that page. That's for lecture 2, and then take a screenshot of the next page. Well, at least section. Well, or division. Page breaks. Whatever page that is. Well, it's listed as page 35. Let's see if that's correct. No, look, 35, and then go over here. Still says 35. Now it says 36. So when does it say when does it change to 36? 35, 36, 36, no, 36, 35, 36. Huh, I don't know. What if I go down here? 34. Hmm. 35. Oh, I'm starting to get it. See, I'm at 34. Then when the black line hits the top, it goes to 35. So that's the page break when it hits the top. So when that black line hits the top, it'll be 36. Yeah, right. So yeah, this 36. So take a picture of 36, a screenshot. Wait a minute, let me not move it. Oops, there's 36. Got it? Oh, did you get it? The screenshot? Okay, ready? One, two, three. You got the screenshot? Okay, good. Now I'm gonna move it over to page 37, right? There you go. We're in page 37, so take a screenshot of that in case you want to read ahead. I'm going to page 38 and take a screenshot. No, 37. Oh, 38. Here it is. 38. 38. Yeah, there it is. Take a screenshot of that. Well, I haven't read that, but maybe what we could do is copy that shortcut. Let's see. Copy, and there, I copied it, and now I go to YouTube, and then see in the chat. I'm gonna paste varieties of religious experience, not experiences, but experience, and then paste archive. There we go. I pasted it in. But now let's go back to where I was. I'm going to stop sharing. So, sorry, folks. I must have hoped that I'd read the rest of the book, The Variety of Religious Experience, the exciting book of that on Internet Archive. So you don't have to buy it. You can read it on the website. Internet Archive. Well, it's called archive.org, and then maybe you could search for Varieties of Religious Experience. It's, let's see, who wrote that book? Oh, look at that. Here's the cover, or at least the first few pages. The Varieties of Religious Experience, a study in human nature. Yeah. Being the Gifford Lectures on Natural Religion, delivered at Edinburgh in 1901 to 1902 by William James. But this is the 28th impression or printing provided by the publisher Longmans Green and Company, 4th Avenue and 30th Street, New York. But also they have offices in London, Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras. 1917. 28th impression. And there's the lectures. The contents show you the lecture. So I was looking at lecture 2, conscription of the topic on page 28. But it, but in my case, it turned out to be what, page 35 or so, according to the way the text falls into divisions, into page breaks. These page breaks maybe do not quite align with the actual page breaks that the book, the physical book fell into. Anyway, I'm going to maybe, let's see if I can go back to DuckDuckGo. Yeah, I can. So let's see if maybe I could go to, let's see. Let's see if I could go to, if I can go, let's see, more results. Variety of Religious Experience on eBay. Variety of Religious, they study Gutenberg.org. Oh, it's also there. In Praise of William James, the New York Times. Let's look at this article. In Praise of William James by John Williams. Uh-oh. This is an article on the New York Times, so it might not let me read this uh unless I log in. Check out with the card. Oh, I can't log in. So I won't be able to go in there. But Stanford, William James. I can read up on what is this called? Stanford Encyclopedia Philosophy. William James was an original thinker in and between the disciplines of physiology, oh, psychology, philosophy. His 1200-page masterwork, The Principles of Psychology, 1890, is a rich blend of physiology, psychology, philosophy, and personal reflection that has given us such ideas as the stream of thought and the baby's impression of the world as one great blooming, buzzing confusion. It contains seeds of pragmatism and phenomenology and influenced generations of thinkers in Europe and America, including Edmund Husserl, Bertrand Russell, John Dewey, Ludwig Wittgenstein. James studied at Harvard's Lawrence Scientific School of Medicine, but his writings were from the outset as much philosophical as scientific. Some remarks on Spencer's notion of mind as correspondence and the sentiment of rationality. Those are two works. I don't know how long they were, but they're from 1878 and 1879 and 1882. Hmm. They presage his future pragmatism and pluralism and contain the first statements of his view that philosophical theories are reflections of a philosopher's temperament. Hmm. James hints at his religious concerns in his earliest essays and in the principles, but they become more explicit in the will to believe, other essays in popular philosophy, 1897, and in human immortality, two supposed objections to the doctrine, of 1898. And the one we were looking at, The Varieties of Religious Experience, 1902, and the Pluralistic Universe, 1909. So James oscillated between thinking that a study in human nature, such as varieties, could contribute to a science of religion, and the belief that religious experience involves an altogether supernatural domain, somehow inaccessible to science, but accessible to the individual human subject. James made some of his most important philosophical contributions in the last decade of his life. In a burst of writing in 1904, 1905, collected in Essays in Radical Empiricism, 1912, he set out the metaphysical view most commonly known as neutral monism, according to which there is one fundamental stuff that is neither material nor mental. A stuff that is neither material nor mental. So it's somewhere in between? Mm, okay, that's interesting. In a pluralist, pluralistic universe, he defends the mystical and anti pragmatic view that concepts distort rather than reveal reality. In his influential Pragmatism, 1907, he presents systematically a set of views about truth, knowledge, reality, religion, and philosophy that permeate his writings from the late 1870 onwards. So, we got chronology, early writings, the principles, psychology, essays, and popular. Let's go to the variety of religious experiences. Like Principles of Psychology, Varieties is a study in human nature, as its subtitle says, but at some 500 pages, it is only half the length of the Principles of Psychology, befitting its more restricted, if still large, scope. For James studies that part of human nature that is or is related to religious experience. His interest is not in religious institutions, ritual, or even for the most part religious ideas, but in the feelings, acts, and experiences of individual men and maybe women in their solitude, so far as they apprehend themselves, to stand into relation to whatever they may consider the divine. Hmm. So James sets out a central distinction of the book in early chapters on the religion of healthy mindedness and the sick soul. The healthy minded religious person, Walt Whitman, is one of James' main examples. The deep sense of the goodness of life and a soul of the sky blue tint. Healthy mindedness can be involuntary, just natural to someone, but often comes in more willful forms. Liberal Christianity, for example, presents the triumph of a resolute devotion to healthy mindedness over a morbid old hellfire theology. James also cites the mind cure movement of Mary Baker Eddy, for whom evil is simply a lie, and anyone who mentions it is a liar. For the sick soul, in contrast, radical evil gets its inning. No matter how secure one may feel, the sick soul finds that unsuspectedly, from the bottom of every fountain of pleasure, as the old poet said, something bitter rises up, a touch of nausea, a falling dead of the delight, a whiff of melancholy. These states are not simply unpleasant sensations, for they bring a feeling of coming from a deeper religion and often have an appalling convincingness. James' main examples are Leo Tolstoy's My Confession, John Bunyan's autobiography, and a report of terrifying dread allegedly from a French correspondent, but actually from James himself. Some sick souls never get well, while others recover or even triumph. These are the twice born. And in chapters on the divided self and the process of its unification, and on conversion, James discusses St. Augustine, Henry Aline, Bunyan, Tolstoy, and a range of popular evangelists, focusing on what he calls the state of assurance, on what he calls the state of assurance that they achieve. Central to this state is the loss of all the worry, the sense that all is ultimately well with one, the peace, the harmony, the willingness to be, even though the outer conditions should remain the same. Varieties classic chapter on mysticism offers four marks which, when an experience has them, may justify us in calling it mystical. The first is ineffability. It defies expression. Its quality must be directly experienced. It cannot be imparted or transferred to others. Second is a noetic quality. Mystical states present themselves as states of knowledge. Thirdly, mystical states are transient. Fourth, subjects are passive with respect to them. They cannot control their coming and going. So, are these states? James ends the chapter by asking, windows through which the mind looks out upon a more extensive and inclusive world. In the chapters entitled Philosophy, devoted in large part to pragmatism and conclusions, James finds that religious experience is on the whole useful, even amongst the most important biological functions of mankind, but he concedes that this does not make it true. Nevertheless, James articulates his own belief, which he does not claim to prove, that religious experiences connect us with a greater or further reality not accessible in our normal cognitive relations to the world. The further limits of our being plunge, it seems to me, into an altogether other dimension of existence from the sensible and merely understandable world. Hmm. So I just wanted to get some kind of overview of the book, The Varieties of Religious Experience by William James. I believe it was first published around 1902. And I was looking at lecture 2 in the archives.org scanning of the book. It's in, they converted the scan, the what was scanned into text, pretty much. And so, let's see. trying to. Okay, there it is. I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. So now I would like to share hmm, a something that uh, might might be related to this, might not. If I can find it. Let's see. Oh, here's the other phone. Ah, no, that's not it. I'm looking for another book that I found here. Uh, that's not it. That's not it. Uh, oh, I lost the book. Maybe I dropped it on the floor. Mm, mm, no, could it be this one? No, I just looked at that. Not that one. And it's not this one. And it's not. Oh, what's this book? Oh, interesting book. Let's see what this one is. Let's see if I dropped it. No, I don't see it on the floor. Mm, let's see if we turn on the lights. Um, oh, is it this one? No, that's not it. Let's see. Hmm. Oh, nope, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. Hmm. It. What's this? Hmm. 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 Oh my gosh, my laptop is about to fall on me. Mm, ah, boy, it was gonna kill me. Um, I can't believe it. Oh, that's just looking at the book. Hmm. 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 See. Oh, it's maybe it's buried under this. Hmm. Oh, could be this one. Aha! I found it. Ah. Huh. It's called. Hmm. Oh, I I have so much light on top of my head. Maybe I'm starting to become enlightened or something. Let's see. I got a new light over there. LED maybe? Yeah, let's see. Pretty bright. So I'm going to to start reading this book. Let's see. See. Oh, I'm going to read from this book. Uh, I guess this chapter one, or it's got the number one on it. Maybe it's a part. No. Let's see. Table of contents. Introduction. One. Uh, Shit. I don't know. Introduction. Whew, this is wild. This book, maybe it's written by different people. Looks like. I don't know. It's just weird. So, introduction. I guess this is the introduction to the whole book by Joseph L. Henderson, but the introduction is pretty lengthy. It's some 66, maybe more pages. It's divided into 7 parts. And so I'm going to look at part one, fear of death. But as a warning, well, as a anticipation, as a, what is it? Hmm. As a, as a, looking ahead, as a, as a incentive to look forward to reading with me this book. I can say that the introduction has 7 parts, and the first part is fear of death. The second part is death and rebirth as cosmic pattern. The in particular the dance of Shiva, and the third part is also death and rebirth as like no, it's also death and rebirth, but as cycles of nature, and in particular the descent of Inanna. And then part four is a personal encounter, the wisdom of the serpent. The wisdom of the serpent. What is that about? Anyway, part five is the initiation as a spiritual education. Part six, initiation as psychic liberation. The magic flight. Part seven, resurrection and rebirth in the process of individuation. Yeah, there's the 7 parts. So that those parts are by Joseph L. Henderson, but then there is a big section that follows that. Hmm. Oh, okay. So this book is written by 2 authors. So the first part is the introduction, only 60, at least 66 or so pages. But then the rest of the book is by Maud Oakes, whoever that person is, looks at the myths of death, rebirth, and resurrection, which is it's got uh, maybe 5 or 6 parts, pretty big parts. One part, or the first part, is called Death and Rebirth as Cosmic Pattern. Oh, that's interesting. That's the same. That's the same title as the first author, Joseph L. Henderson, has outlined in the introduction. Oh, okay. So the introduction by Joseph L. Henderson is going to kind of maybe outline what the different parts are about, maybe. So death and rebirth is cosmic pattern, death and rebirth as cycles of nature, initiation as a spiritual education. Yeah, that's part five of the introduction. But Maud Oakes expands on it. Initiation as psychic liberation. There's in there. There's an introduction, and then there's shamanic initiation, Siberian, the road of life and death, Winnebago Indian, death of Odin, Icelandic, the big lord of lives, Chinese teaching of the identity of life and death, Zen Buddhist, Nachitakas, that's Indian, the Valley of Dry Bones, Christian, uh, Shavrit, Shavitri, that's Indian. And then there's myths of resurrection. So there's in myths about resurrection, there's the death of Balder, that's Icelandic, the revelation of Saint John the Divine, that's Christian. 1 Kings chapter 7, that's Christian. Job chapter 14, Christian. Gospel according to St. John chapter 20, the death of the Buddha, that's Indian. Bodhisattva Prince, Indian. The Chinese. And then there's an appendix, further examples in the theme of death and rebirth in poetry. So, well, let's start with the introduction by Joseph L. Henderson that might help us explain what this book is all about. Starting with the fear of death. Okay, that's a good one to start with because in Buddhism, well, in the Lamrim, it's in the path of Buddhism. There is this kind of books called Lamrim. Not just kind of books. They eventually the categories of studying or the type of teaching that is the Lamrim. Lamrim means roughly stages of the path to enlightenment, right? And that's divided into three scopes, as in, uh, hmm, from the student side, or maybe, maybe it's, say when you're about to learn something new, you have to decide, well, not totally new, but maybe you have certain familiarity with it, but you're gonna take a course on it. Maybe you're pretty familiar with it, so maybe you might be an intermediate. Or like say learning guitar. Let's say you're an intermediate guitar player, or maybe you're an advanced guitar player. So if you go to the teacher, you might want to categorize yourself as advanced or intermediate or beginner. Yeah, so there's you could divide any any program, any path roughly as a beginner, intermediate, and advanced as maybe the level that you want to be put in or placed under. So maybe in an intermediate level, uh, you you're familiar with the fundamentals, but you want to get a little better. So you have certain goals as an intermediate, and then an advanced. Maybe you're starting to learn on your own, but you want to really Yeah, you want to make it your own. You want to make it a profession. You want to, yes, you want to give to others, but in order to give others, maybe you gotta hmm, receive some advanced training. Kind of, you could call it esoteric, as in maybe hidden or is not readily available to the public. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that in the teachings of the Lamrim, the fear of death is as a meditation is considered the most powerful meditation of all because maybe it kicks you in the butt to get you on the path, on a spiritual path. Or it says, what it's trying to do is to say that, hey, wake up, you're going to die for sure. So how's that feel? And what's even more frightening is that you don't know when you're gonna die. You could die tomorrow. There's absolutely no no guarantee that you won't die tomorrow. That you could die tomorrow in a car accident. So just think about that. And so, are you ready to die? Hmm. That's it's horrible to think about those things. Uh, 'Cause you want to have confidence that you're not going to die tomorrow, that you're going to die in 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, depending on what your age is. So you don't, you're afraid to think that I may die tomorrow or I may die in an hour. You don't want to think those things because you're afraid that it may attract uh, the Lord of Death or something. But no, what a meditation on death is going is supposed to try to get you is maybe to get you to be serious about what's important in your life and get you thinking more about the the spiritual of your life, the afterlife maybe, things like that. The before life too. Okay, so not so very many years ago, in his Varieties of Religious Experience, William James foreshadowed an entirely new psychological relativity toward religious experience. Ignoring theology, he brought to his readers the benefit of an impartial and above all accepting attitude to all forms of religious experience. So he did not consider some as higher or lower, better or worse than others. And although a good many were experiences reported by pathological individuals, he did not interpret these experiences themselves as being essentially healthy or deranged. It is with this attitude that I should like to approach the subject of death. In fact, the subject of death and resurrection as a whole, it is a subject which defies our ever finding the ultimate truth, but one around which cluster a variety of symbolic representations by which the living have sought to approach the end of life in a meaningful way. Of course, it must be recognized that the first reaction of most people to the thought of death is not symbolic, but painfully literal. Shit, what will happen to me? when I die. And for this, we must postulate a personal reaction appropriate to the individual disposition of each person who faces the fear of death, which is at bottom, the ego's fear of the unknown. Unknown. So it seems to me, from a psychological point of view, that uh, so it seems to me that from a psychological point of view, that the fear of death is a personal reaction appropriate to the individual disposition of that person who faces a fear of death, which is at the bottom of the ego's fear of the unknown. Mm. So, what I'm going to do is display what I just read. Mm. The fear that, in case you want to take a screenshot of it, see, I'll try to hold it for you without shaking. You got it? You take a screenshot. Very good. Now I'm going to show you what book I am reading. Okay. I'm going to show you what book I'm reading. The Wisdom of the Serpent. The Myths of Death, Rebirth, and Resurrection. Joseph L. Henderson and Maud Oakes. So I'm reading the introduction by Joseph L. Henderson. So maybe Maud Oakes is going to go deeper into these things. So maybe Joseph L. Henderson gives an overview, and Maud Oakes goes in deeper. That's what I get the impression that it's going to be like. So now let's go to the second page. Let's see if you can get a screenshot of it. If I can hold the my phone without shaking, and if I can show you the whole page at one time. Oh no, it's hard to. It doesn't quite get it. Uh, see if I can go like this. I can get the top half like this, and then the bottom half like this. Maybe, oof, like that. Well, that's hard to read. It's at the crease, it gets kind of tough. Maybe it's because the beginning is of the book got a curve. It doesn't lay flat. Kind of curve. But let's read this part of the second page of this introduction by Henderson. So in the contrast between the universal and the present experience of what is unknown, we may find the conclusion. No, we may find the condition necessary to explore the eternal mystery of death. To this end, we shall review traditional patterns of belief and compare them with experiences of modern individuals. The selected text provides us the outset with a rich yield from the records of mankind concerning death and its correlates, rebirth and resurrection, which I, as a psychologist and psychotherapist, will use along with case material to illustrate and I hope reinterpret for contemporary minds some aspects of this eternal theme. If we may postulate that the fear of death is basically fear of the unknown, there would seem to be no limit to the images of foreboding or hope, which can be projected by a fearful ego into it. Surprisingly, therefore, I think it can be demonstrated from the diverse material at our disposal that the combinations are not infinite, but conform to a certain rather simple design. Design. Oh, not a simple design, but rather simple designs, plural. Whether we find the theme of death, whether is re- it is whether in recurrent myths or modern dreams, we find that it is no, it is never. It is never. It is never. Yes, it is never. It is never seen to stand alone as a final act of annihilation, apart from extreme forms of pathological depression or of infantile sadism. Yeah, sadism. Death is universally found to be part of a cycle of death and rebirth, or to be the condition necessary to imagine transcendence of life and experience of resurrection, somewhere between the myths of death and rebirth and the myths of death and resurrection. We find abundant evidence for another theme in which the experience of death and rebirth is central, the theme of initiation. Initiation provides the archetypal pattern by which the psyche, whether in individuals or in groups of people, is enabled to make a transition from one stage of development to another, and therefore bring the theme of death and rebirth into close relation to problem of education, whether in a religious or a secular sense. Viewed from the only absolute standpoint we have, that is, of being still alive, we can therefore regard fear of death as being fear of change, or fear of growing up, or fear of becoming independent of the claims of the material world, or a mixture of all these, of all three. Mm. Oh, wow. Let's go check on our YouTube channel to see if anybody is chatting. Oh, no, nobody's chatting. See, go here. So how long have we been? Oh, let's slide this over and see. Let's play. Oh shoot. Let's see. Uh, and I hit play. Chat. Oh, I'm trying to see how long I've been chatting. I can't tell. I don't see minutes. I can't tell. What if I go to the YouTube app and go to my channel? Wake up and think clearly. That's where I put this, and then I go over to live, and there it is. I hear myself a few seconds earlier. Can't. Oh, one spectator. It says that it started over an hour ago. That I wanted to see if I could see like a a time running. I can't see it on my YouTube channel, and I can't see it on my can't see it on Zoom. Oh, sorry, I'm showing my legs. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, there's nothing. There's nothing to show. Let's see. Um, it's weird. How come I don't see the time running, like a timestamp or something? Hmm. Maybe next time I'll write something in the chat at the beginning. In the Zoom chat. Let's see, like say hope, like say welcome. If I do that, it would show me the time. Yeah, it's like showing 12:55 a.m. I wonder if I remember if I did anything. Oh, okay, I know what I can do. I can go back to YouTube, and YouTube, let's see. In YouTube, I was in the chat on YouTube, right? And I typed something in the chat. I wonder if there's a timestamp for when I typed in, hey, friends, enemies, and kind others. Let's see if it gives me a time. Oh, no, it doesn't give me the time I did that. It's kind of weird. It's kind of sad that it doesn't. That's kind of bad. Let's see. Oh, that's because I have timestamp turned off. And see, now I'm gonna type something in the chat. Hello, testing. Oh, uh, so I typed in hello testing. Oh, there's a part there. Oh, now, oh, wait a minute. I see 11:22. Okay, now with the timestamp, I see when I first typed in, "Hey friends." That was an 11:22. That's 12:57. So that means I've been running about an hour and a half. Yeah. So, wait a minute. Yeah. I've been running an hour and a half. So that's plenty of time. I'm sure that's more than anybody would want to listen to this. So I'm going to end uh, this Zoom meeting that I had with me. And so, well, you gotta go to Zoom. Yeah. Am I in Zoom? Okay. Wait a minute. Let's see. Okay. I'm in Zoom. So make it big. Okay. So there I am. Oh, that's interesting. How come it's like that? Anyway, that's weird. I've never seen that happen before. Anyway, oh wow. Okay. So, so in this session, I think I titled it Varieties of Experience, something like that. And I guess I tried to start off by looking up looking up that work called The Varieties of Religious Experience by William James. So I did a little research on yes, just looked up. I found the actual book. I believe it is. It's, it's been scanned into duck duck no, been scanned into archive.org, right? The book. Hmm. So I started reading lecture two. I think I got maybe one or two pages, or maybe one and a half pages. And then I went to Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy and read up on William James. And then in that article, I went over to the actual book, like a, I don't know if it's a summary, but uh, an overview to give you the idea of what it's about. Maybe. There's some ideas that William James got around to to expounding on concerning religion, religious experiences, religious moments, religious states of mind. Let's see. I started reading this book um, today, so I went over it, see what the contents were, and then I started reading the introduction, and the introduction is pretty lengthy, actually. It's let's say 70 pages. I know. It seems like the introduction reflects what the rest of the book is by another author. So this book is kind of co-written. They separate their their parts. Like the first part is the introduction, and, and so one of the authors handles the introduction, and then the rest of the book, which is maybe maybe three times longer than the introduction, is handled by the other author, Maud Oakes. And I'm gonna take a guess and say that it covers the same topics as the introduction, but maybe it goes deeper into them. Uh, with maybe examples from the mythological stories that the focus is in these various parts. Like I'm thinking there's about seven parts to this book. And so in the introduction, the author or one of the authors, Joseph L. Henderson, he goes over those seven parts. And then in the second author continues those parts, seven parts, by going into them in more depth. And so the second author takes up maybe 60 or 70% of the book. No, maybe I'd say 70%, maybe not 70 and not 60. Maybe it's closer to 70. I'd say it's 66%. So two-thirds of the book is covered by Maud Oak. While one third is covered by Joseph L. Henderson. But Joseph L. Henderson covers the introduction that maybe gives it a good overview of what Maud Oakes covers. Hmm. So, who are these two authors, Joseph L. Henderson and Maud Oakes? Is there any information on them? Are they like experts in the field? Are they professors at some university? Oh, doesn't say. Does it, it, but this book has an appendix and notes on the plates and references, and then uh, let's see. Hmm. Metal. Hmm, okay, we can look at the back of this book and see who these authors are. So we can see that Joseph L. Henderson is an analytical psychologist and member of the Carl Gustav Jung Institute of San Francisco. And Maud Oakes was an anthropologist and artist, author of The Two Crosses of Todos Santos, and an illustrator of Where the Two Come to Their Father and Beauty Way, all in Bollingen series. Hmm. So maybe the cover of this book is a painting, maybe, or illustration by Carl Gustav Jung from his book, The Red Book. That's what it says here, and it's titled "The Light at the Core of Darkness." So that's what that is. This is an image that it was taken from, maybe with permission, from the, well, at least they gave credit that comes from the Red Book. Hmm. Or at least it was reprinted from the Carl Gustav Jung Word and Image. Hmm. Hmm. So, yeah, this book is called The Wisdom of the Serpent: Myths of Death, Rebirth, and Resurrection by Joseph L. Henderson and Maud Oakes. So, the tribal initiation of the shaman, the archetype of the serpent, exemplifies the death of the self and rebirth into transcendent, unknowable life. Anderson and Oakes trace the images and patterns of spiritual initiation in religious rituals, in myths of resurrection, poems and epics, the cycles of nature, and universal human responses in art and dreaming. The authors dramatize the metamorphosis from a common experience of death's inevitability into a transcendent freedom beyond the individual's limitation. Mm. So this is considered a classic work in analytical psychology that offers, mm, for one thing, crucial insight on the meaning of death symbolism and its inevitable accompanying rebirth and resurrection symbolism as part of the great theme of initiation, of which Henderson is the world's foremost psychological interpreter. This material is really the next step after the hero myth that Joseph Campbell has made so popular, and provides an understanding of how not to use the hero myth in an inflated way as a psychology of mastery, but as an attainment progressively to be died beyond. Anderson is helped by the presence of Maud Oakes, who is a trained anthropologist with exquisite taste in her choice of mythic materials and respect for their original context. So, so what do you think? Hmm. Hmm. So this is a good combination of authors, and there's a lot of illustrations or reprints or plates of things from other books that were brought in, like this woodcut from the 16th century, teaching something about the apocalypse. Maybe it's got the symbolism that are in the apocalypse, in the Revelation book in the Bible. There's something, the god Vishnu in fish incarnation. Oh, there, how's that? So there's the fish, and out of the fish's mouth is a person with four arms holding four different items, maybe. Maybe one of them might be a sword. I don't know. So there's that's considered the god Vishnu as a fish, and there's the Odis. And here is that looks like a they call this a bodhisattva. It looks like a sculpture of some figure. It's got a halo. Uh, and here's one that's called Buddha and the Seven Serpents. So there, behind the Buddha's head are seven serpents. And here's one with a snake. Got it. Snake. Got it. Here's one. The jadeite bow of a shaman. There's a special tool used by a shaman. A bow, or maybe, no. I can see the figure. It looks like an eye and a mouth, and arms, and holding a bow, maybe. Or maybe this itself is a bow. I was thinking at the top of the head it was empty, or the mouth of a bottle, maybe. I don't know. And this one is the Sorcerer of Troy Ferre, I guess. Ramu Ferre. Mhm. The baptism. Baptism. Mhm. Wheel of Mother Nature. Uh, and there's some Greek figures. There's the Egyptian figure. They say right there it says Osiris is the personification of the earth to be regenerated. Hmm. Okay. And there's a Shiva Nataraja Aztec calendar stone. Uh, mm, so this is maybe you wanna take a screenshot of this page and see if you can read it. You got it? One, two, three. You got the screenshot? Good. Maybe I'll read it another time. Uh, but what I read was towards the beginning was the fear of death, and that's in under the introduction by Joseph L. Henderson. And the fear of death is just one of seven parts of the introduction, and they seem to correspond with seven parts in the rest of the book, expanded by Maud Oakes, is the second author of the book. And her part seems to be larger, like two or three times larger than Joseph L. Henderson. Maybe she goes in. I'm guessing she goes into greater detail. I don't know. Just guessing because it's 2 or 3 times larger in content, and it provides plates or drawings or photos to illustrate what she's found. So maybe she's an expert in. Well, it says here what she's an expert in. I think. I read somewhere what she's a trained anthropologist. So, and she's got an exquisite taste in her choice of mythic materials, and she has respect for their original context. Yes, that's what John Beebe, MD, says. Because having respect for the original context means that you're not taking them out of context. You're not making things up about them, which could be easily done to try to prove a particular point, I would say. So I hope that this helps someone. Hmm. I'm going to stop this reading of what I read and comment and whatever and rambling. Hope you get something out of it. I sure hope I get something out of it. And I hope I get inspired to continue reading from that book. This book called The Wisdom of the Serpent, The Myths of Death, Rebirth, and Resurrection by Joseph L. Henderson and Maud Oakes. So Henderson is like a psychologist, psychotherapist, while Maud Oakes is the anthropologist. So this is kind of like a Joseph Campbell kind of book, but it builds up on it, or it maybe goes into more I don't want to say scientific, but more in the proper way of doing things like that, and not just in speculating and interpreting it the way you want to. Maybe it goes into more in depth so that you know what is the right way of thinking about these things, the righter way. I don't know, or it could be the way that archaeologists, anthropologists have, and 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 historians and students of religions and histories and mythology, the way they understand it, maybe. So maybe they're basing their conclusions on what's considered the best uh, interpretations in their field. Maybe I don't know. Well, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to maybe fall asleep in a little while. Good night. May you wake up and think clearly in your dreams. Bye.